Hi there everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Alice Takeover. And if you don't already know who I am, I'm a traveling freelance model. In this video, I'll discuss how some of my one-on-one shoots turned sour. And for the models watching this video, I'm going to share some tips on how you can prevent similar situations in your own modeling career. There was a time when I thought working one-on-one with photographers more frequently was a better route than conducting tours. Both options have their advantages and drawbacks. Let's start with touring. Touring is great because I get to meet multiple photographers in one trip. On average, I can schedule about 3 2-hour shoots per day, meaning in a week or so I can work with about 12 to 15 photographers. And that's not including the workshops and events that I can go to where I can also meet many people at those as well. This allows me to stay connected within the modeling community and build my network. The downside to this? I have to make a strong first impression every single time, and I also have to quickly gauge each photographer's professionalism and personality. While many are very easygoing, some present some challenges. The silver lining in all of this is that these interactions are pretty brief, and I can decide whether or not I want to work with this photographer again in the future or not. Now, one-on-one shoots are a little bit different. These typically involve a photographer flying me out and booking my accommodations, covering my food, and also paying my modeling rate for half-day, full-day, or even multi-day rates. Some photographers enjoy working with me so much that they book me several times a year. What I like about this is the consistency provides a huge financial stability that touring doesn't always offer. However, working with the same photographers repeatedly does come with its own sets of challenges. Many hobbyist photographers not only love photography, but they also value the social interaction that comes along with it. And while I appreciate professional rapport, I have to be mindful of maintaining clear boundaries with these types of clients. Because many of my clients are older men, there's often a power dynamic at play. I have to ensure that lines don't get blurred, whether that means making sure nobody develops romantic feelings or trying to prevent photographers from becoming too involved in my personal life. There's definitely a fine balance between being personable and being professional. Even with my best efforts, I've had clients who have become emotionally attached. Some assumed that they were my best friends simply because we had worked together so many times. Others attempted to insert themselves directly into my life in ways that went beyond professional boundaries. So here's a few experiences that stand out to me. I've had photographers slowly push the narrative of, "I'm so glad we're friends," in situations I couldn't easily leave if I wanted to. They expected me to reciprocate, which felt like a gateway for a more intense and unwelcome emotional attachment. Some photographers have tried to control my career by discouraging me from working with others. When this happens, I immediately cut ties. No one gets to dictate who I work with. Most photographers won't take the direct stance of, "You can't work with this person," but I've had photographers take a more passive-aggressive approach to this, often telling me that my other clients were dangerous or that they had ulterior motives for me, without any real context. They just said these things in order to try to manipulate me into only working with them because they're the only safe photographer I work with. One photographer even told me he had a physical panic attack because he was worried about my safety at an event that I was attending, and that he was ready to send someone to come get me, despite me never actually bringing this event up to him and certainly not talking about any indication that I felt unsafe about this event. I suppose he saw my travel notice online and that he quickly made assumptions, which for me made me feel like it was an attempt to control my movements. Also, going along with overly obsessive people, I've received excessive daily messages filled with love bombing, saying how proud they are of me and how lucky they are to know me. So when clients excessively message me on a regular basis where it's like one after the other every single day, I just don't have time to get back to those, and so I would get back to them like once a week, once every 2 weeks, and I would try to keep my communications very limited, but it still left a doorway open for them where they felt like that excessive messaging was acceptable. Another sort of obsessive issue that I've faced is when photographers only want to work with me and they refuse to hire other models. While that might come off as flattering, it actually puts a lot of pressure on me. I don't want to be the only creative outlet for somebody's passion. I encourage photographers to work with multiple models in order to keep their inspiration diverse and to avoid any unhealthy attachments from forming. Because when I've had photographers only want to work with me and they tell me that they only want to work with me, they kind of expect me to say, "Oh, I only want to work with you." But that's not the case. I have a whole career that I need to run as a model. And then when things don't go their way, there's sabotage. Some photographers will continue to hire me for a long time and they'll continue to put these little antidotes of toxicity into my life like that. And when I don't feed into their unprofessionalism with like trying to be my friend and trying to get involved in my personal life and all of that, then a lot of the time they'll do crazy things to sabotage my career. They'll spread lies to damage my reputation. I had one photographer that left me hanging on an entire tour where he said, "Hey, I want to like fly you out and put you up and all this stuff," and I said, "Okay," and we had built a great rapport. And so I did not ask him for a deposit or for reimbursement before booking the flights. I don't do that anymore because of this client. I ended up booking everything myself, and then I was expecting reimbursement once I arrived. And so I flew out to the location. This was like states away from the state I reside in, and then I flew to the location, and I get there, and then I'm texting him and I'm like, hey, I'm here. Can't wait to shoot with you tomorrow. And he blocked me on everything. And so because he didn't end up getting his way with wanting to be more involved with me on a closer level, he decided to go through all of that and leave me hanging in a city that I was unfamiliar with. And that's just straight up rude, I tell you. So instead of these guys just simply moving on from me and stopping obsessing over me, they just seek to leave an impact on my career in some sort of negative way. That way I never forget them. And the thing is, I don't forget people anyway. I don't forget if you're a nice person or a mean person. Just don't be a mean person. Because chances are likely I'm not gonna give you the time of day if you're mean to me. Like, I'm not gonna go and sabotage any one person online. And for the people that know me, they know that I have lots of people that I can go talk about online. But guess what? I don't want to give anybody that satisfaction that's done me wrong. So nobody's gonna live rent-free in my head that shouldn't be there. So when photographers try to get back at me because I didn't end up getting involved in their life in a personal way like they wanted to, it's really frustrating when they try to do things to twist my career or to make me look a certain way to other people, but it's also just a reality of the industry. And it just means at the end of the day, I have to be more careful about who I work with and the rapport I'm building with those people that I choose to work with. And so if you're a freelance model, here's a few ways that you can protect yourself from these types of one-on-one shoots going sour. Be sure to set clear boundaries right from the start. Make it very clear that you're there for professional reasons and not for personal companionship. Try to limit those off-topic conversations. Keep discussions focused on photography and modeling to avoid emotional entanglements. I know this can be really hard to do because once you work with somebody for a while and they start to ask you like more personal questions, like I found every single time that I let on more about my life to somebody, it never ends well. If you can keep it as professional as you can, that's less that they can leak onto online forums about you, that's less that they can use against you later. It's always best to try to keep it as professional as possible and without having to get too personal. Some things that I never bring up are my family, my friends, and anything that's super personal in my life that a photographer really shouldn't know. Trust your gut. If your gut is telling you something, it's probably right. Model's intuition is extremely strong. So if a photographer starts showing signs of possessiveness or manipulation, cut ties before it escalates. Never be afraid to say no. If a photographer tries to control your career choices in a negative way, you don't owe them any more shoots. You don't owe them any explanation for who you work with and what you decide to do. If they start to delve too far into telling you who you should and shouldn't work with, you probably should cut ties with them. I've also often heard photographers say, if you work with this guy, you're no longer allowed to work with me. Well, if that's the case, I'd rather not work with that guy who said that I can't work with him. If I work with this guy, I'd rather just go work with the guy who's more easygoing. Keep your communications outside the photo shoots professional. Limit how much the photographers can excessively message you, and maintain a business-oriented tone in all interactions. I would also limit how many emojis you send photographers, how many more personalized notes that you send to them. I always try to use the most politically correct and professional text that I can whenever responding, and I never overly respond to people, and anybody who knows me, they know I'm on top of my messages, so if I'm lagging behind in messages, it's probably for a good reason. Whenever I take a while to respond to messages, it's usually because I'm either actually busy, but if it's like a photographer who is incessantly messaging me all the time, I'm either going to block them if it's on my personal number because it's an abuse of my personal time, or if it's on social media, I mean, if it's excessive and it's like a personal thing, and I'd rather not delve into that because I have hundreds of business inquiries I have to get back to, and there's more pertinent people in my personal life that I need to attend to, versus making time for literally hundreds of photographers who want to have a personal conversation with me. At the end of the day, being a freelance model means navigating both creative and business relationships, but it never has to become personal. Touring and one-on-one shoots each have their place, but maintaining boundaries with each is very crucial to protecting both your career and your personal well-being. And if you found this video insightful, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any updates from me about the model photography industry. And for models who are watching this video, leave me a comment in the comment section if you've had similar experiences to this, and let me know how you dealt with this situation. Thanks again for tuning into today's video, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.